You keep telling yourself what you know. But what do you believe? What do you feel?
Guilt. I feel guilt, Mom. And no matter what I do, no matter how hopeless I am, no matter how confused, that guilt is always there, reminding me of the truth.
What truth?
Christopher Nolan's Inception is a phenomenon in the film industry, for groundbreaking visuals to mesmerizing storytelling about dreams within even more dreams. But it isn't the story of Inception that grasped my attention or was what I kept thinking about at the end of the movie. This is because Inception's themes are very similar to Paprika. And what is Christopher Nolan saying in Inception? Well, it is what Satoshi Kon represented in Paprika, that living away from reality can be dangerous, that there must be a balance for both for them to be enjoyable. And what we can see throughout Inception is the dangers of living in the dream world, from a group of men wanting to only live in that dream world.
They come to be woken up. The dream has become the reality.
To Cobb's obsession of being with Mal in his dreams. There is a balance that must be at play with escapism and reality. Cobb and Mal are consumed by the dream world that they both found it hard to distinguish reality from dream, and in the end, Mal believed that no matter what reality she was living in, it wasn't her true reality, and took her life because of that feeling. Cobb, however, breaks that cycle at the end of the movie. He forgets to look at his totem as it keeps spinning, because living in the now became his reality. Cobb gets his heroic ending in Inception. But this is why I love Inception, because Cobb isn't the good guy. In Christopher Nolan's Inception, we root for the villain. We root for a big corporation to win. We root for the manipulators to win. We root for the thieves to win. So I want to discuss the character of Cobb, and is he someone that should have had his happy ending, or someone that got away with actual murder? Cobb is a complex character in Inception, and there are 3 layers that I want to discuss about him: his motives, his wife, and his reality. These 3 are what defines Cobb as a character. When we look back at Inception, Cobb has a very simple motive, and that is he wants to see his kids again. But the only way he can see them is if he completed a job for Sato, to infiltrate Robert Fisher's dreams and plant an idea to dissolve his dad's company. But here is where Christopher Nolan plays on our minds, because he gives us, the audience, a crossroad. Do we judge Cobb, or take a leap of faith and trust him?
Take a leap of faith, yes.
Because there is a little nobility in the inception of Robert Fisher. Robert's father's company, if not dissolved, would hold half of the energy supplied across the world, in effect causing a monopoly in the energy sector.
We are the last company standing between them and total energy dominance.
This is where we either accept that as a noble enough reason to enter someone's dream and plant an idea into their head to dissolve said company, and it is us, the audience, who has to decide on that factor. However, because we know what is at stake for Cobb, it becomes easy to root for his cause and wanting him to succeed rather than supporting Sato's end goal. But what this causes is Cobb not thinking about the ethics of the mission. Cobb knows the effects of planting an idea into someone's mind, as seen with his wife Mal. The risks of potentially harming Robert Fisher in a serious mental way is a risk Cobb is willing to take to see his children again. If you were Cobb, would you take that risk? And it isn't even Robert Fisher that Cobb is potentially risking, it is his team that goes with him. All except one was unaware of the dangers of the mission, that being put to sleep as deep as they were could potentially mean they go into a dream limbo where they could be trapped for decades.
Wake him up.
What do you mean it won't wake
It won't
him
wake him
When
up.
we die in a dream, we wake up.
Not from this. We're too heavily sedated to wake up that way.
Cobb is seen as someone who constantly puts people in danger, from the first moments where he allows Mal to shoot Arthur to then conjuring a train to rampage through the middle of the street. Cobb is very unstable but still allows the mission to continue, because his resolve is to see his children at all cost, and he knows this opportunity will be his last. Cobb's mental stability is shouldered on his relationship with his wife, Mal. This is because Cobb has deep regrets of what he did to Mal, and that was to plant an idea in her head that the limbo they both were living in was not their actual reality. But what happened was that idea stayed with her, and whatever reality she was living in never felt like her actual one.
That even after you came back to reality, that you continue to believe your world wasn't real.
So she decided to take her own life so that she could go back to her actual world. Cobb tried to protect Mal but failed, and because of that, her death is played out through his mind and infects the dreams he goes into, from the shattered glass to the freight train. Those items and Mal became his totem. Whenever he sees Mal, that is how he knows he is in the dream world. They state early on in Inception that you shouldn't use someone else's totem.
I can't let you touch it, that would defeat the purpose. See, only I know the balance and the weight of this particular loaded die. That way when you look at your totem, you know beyond a doubt that you're not in someone else's dream.
We see that Cobb uses Mal's totem, but he doesn't use it to check his reality. Mal's totem is a reminder of the mistake he has made. His actual totem is Mal herself. She is a reminder that he is in a dream because in actual reality, she is gone. But that didn't stop Cobb from planting an idea in Robert's mind, even though Cobb knows the damage it can cause to the host. That isn't what our hero in a movie should do. Cobb isn't a character we should root for. In Inception, Cobb doesn't have a reality. Sure, he lives in the real world, but the idea of not being allowed to see his kids, it becomes a reality where there is nothing for him. So often he goes to the dream world. But the interesting thing is, he goes back to the dream world not to see his children, but instead to see his dead wife Mal. And I think he does that because in the real world, the mistake of not being able to see his children is a reminder for him, and to be able to see their face for the first time in a long time is something that couldn't be replicated in the dream world. This is why he only sees Mal in that dream world, because she becomes a reminder of the mistakes he made in the dream reality. A reality where he lost Mal. Both realities throughout Inception become a reminder of his failures. The dream world for planting the idea in Mal's mind, to the real world where his actions to Mal spiraled into him no longer seeing his children.
From the guilt of choosing to leave them, we're going home to our real children.
No.
Cobb's realities are ones he can't escape from. But then there is the end of the movie where he can finally see his children again, and Christopher Nolan lingers on the shot of the totem spinning, and then cuts to black. Is Cobb living in the real world again? Yes. Yes, he is. Because Mal is Cobb's totem. We never see Cobb use anything but Mal's totem. We never see him talk about a previous totem. This is because Mal is Cobb's totem. She only appears in the dream world because that is where Cobb is tortured by his mistakes. She is there in Sato's dream to Robert Fisher's dream. Mal also becomes the audience's totem, allowing us to know whether we are in the dream world as well. It is a clever way of keeping the audience in track with what is happening. And at the end, we see that Cobb sees his children and forgets about the spinning totem. Because a totem is something that is unique to the individual, and Cobb's real totem of Mal doesn't appear. So Cobb can have his happy ending. But again, I ask the question, is it one that Cobb deserves? My conclusion is this: Cobb is a thief, a liar, and willingly puts the team around him at risk. But he did it to see his children, to go home and finally live a normal life. Does that make what he did right? No. His actions caused Mal to commit suicide and left Sato in limbo for decades. Cobb is selfish because his one objective is to go home and see his children. In a way, Cobb is like the movie itself. He is tangled with layers that we, the audience, must navigate to fully understand him as a character. Chris Nolan's Inception might be asking the question about what is reality, but I think the most poignant question Chris Nolan and the movie Inception is asking is, what are we? What defines us as good or bad? from Cobb's behaviour living in the dream world so he can relive his past with his wife, to even Robert Fisher, who grew up trying to be like his father, but in the end, through the actions of Cobb and his team, found closure with his father so that Robert himself can become his own man.
You know, the will means that Dad wanted me to be my own man.
So, again, I asked the question the movie is asking. What are we?